Good morning to all 0 of you watching this right now. Obviously, if you watch this back later, right, just starting out, this is the first one of these I've done. And so let's get into it. So what I want to do today, we're still in pre-market, so I want to go through and show you my process before market opens. And then I'll even stay live probably till 8:45, 9 o'clock Central Time. After excuse me, after some levels get set. So first thing I do is I go down here to extended trading hours and make sure that's on. So what I'm going to do first is clear my object tree from yesterday, which this is all my daily recap stuff. I'll get rid of that. Horizontal line from yesterday for what we're going to do right now. Okay, so that's done. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to mark out the overnight high and low, because we're going to use those as price targets if they ever get there today. So first, looks like our, excuse me just a second. Gosh dang. All right. Right here is our overnight high. I want to make that white because the yellow I use to mark out the VAL when I enter a trade, or the VAH when I enter trades, because those move sometimes when you're in a trade. And then the low, hard to tell with this shading in here, but looks like it's right here to right here. So the low overnight, and again that takes into account yesterday's evening session and this morning's pre-market, right? So to keep an eye on this low before market opens here in the next 13 minutes to see if this doesn't go below there, but so far we've got those marked out. My gosh, can you tell that it's morning time for me? There we go. Another thing I want to say that I think is important that I do each day is that thank God for this opportunity, another day on earth and another day to learn. I am thankful for that. All right, so now we just wait. We don't have any other levels right now as we're waiting for the market to open. This is still carryover from yesterday. This is yesterday's initial balance low. And up here we should have the initial balance high still up there. Yep, it's not still up there. We never even got up there, right? The very first candle of the day was what set this initial balance high, and then we never, which was beautiful. This is what I'd like to see, right? A nice trend day, just down. I've got another system I use that creates signals automatically for those sort of days. It hadn't created a signal in 2 weeks, which is great. That's how it's supposed to work. But man, I like using that other system, and I like using this one too. This one maybe I like using better just because it's off of actual data and not lagging indicators. So far you can see overnight, right, we had that big huge shoot up the last 5 minutes of the day yesterday. Let me go to the minute and actually see down to the minute when that happened. Wow. So the very last minute of the session yesterday, from 682.81 almost up $1 in 1 minute. That's, for those of you that play lotto plays, that was probably pretty awesome. I don't do that. In fact, I try to be done with my day well before then, if I can. Turn that down a little bit. A little bit more. Right there. Alright, so we got 10 minutes before the market opens. This kind of gives a nice clean look before all these other levels start filling in. So we've got our VWAP up here, VWAP outer band 2, which, as I've mentioned in previous videos, those are targets, right? VWAP inner band 1 is the purple. Those are take profit targets. If we get into a trade that is above our, sorry, below those, or above those, I guess, depending on what side you're on. So those are take profit levels. The overnight high and low, those are take profit levels that we can use as targets. And then our VAH and VAL, we could use those. Or sorry, we don't use those as targets. Gosh, my brain is not working today. The initial balance, we use those as targets, which initial balance again is the opening high and low of the first hour of the market session. So for me, 8:30 a.m. Central to 9:30 a.m. Central, those are marked out as well, which we talked about earlier from yesterday. This is the initial balance high from yesterday. Where's the low? Oh, right here. Initial balance low, which is right where pre-market kind of was bouncing around a little bit until it rejected back down to here. So once market opens, I'll probably stick around until the 15-minute opening range is set, because I like to take trades based off of that. So there's really 3 setups that I look for each day. And for me, I'll kind of go through and rank them in the order that I think from best to worst. I think they're all good, but I think best to worst. So the first one for me would be the volume area high and low. And if you watch my other videos or daily recaps, I look for a close above. All right, now since we got time, I'll walk you through one. Look for a close below if it's a VAL, right? Like this candle. Open and close, hold below it, right? And then I would look for an entry. I wasn't trading it this time, and I think on this candle, if I go back on the replay or yesterday's, like, or this level was like up here somewhere. And then I got in a trade, and then it moved as I was in the trade. It moved lower, which is fine, which is actually a good sign if you're in a put. I have to go back and look for yesterday's video, but say I got in right here. There you go. It's profit, right? I didn't take whatever this trade was because I was already in one at the time. But if I had, right, if I hadn't been in a trade, been waiting, this looks like it would have been probably a losing trade. I mean, maybe since you get in right here at 682.07, it dips down to 681.82. Maybe you can get 25% there, but definitely not 50%. And as you can see, it doesn't even come down to our VWAP take profit level. So It's just an example. Here's one that I did take yesterday. It was a loser. My only loser of the day was this one. This is the initial balance low. So we closed below it. We opened and closed on the next candle below it. So I entered the trade at the close of this candle. Price instantly jumps back up, never comes even back down to where, it barely comes back down to where I entered. And comes up here and gets invalidated on this candle right here because this candle closes back above the initial balance. So I'm out. But didn't have to wait very long to get back into another trade. This one closes below. This one open and closes below. I get back in. Same thing happens to me and I'm thinking, oh great, here we go again. But nope, this one actually went that time, and that ended up being a nice trade. And here's another one I took, which ended up being a really nice trade off the initial balance. So I take trades off the VAL, VAH, right? And the setup's the same for each one. It's a close above or below, then the next 5-minute candle, open and close, hold above or below, then that's when I enter the trade. And I stay in the trade until my targets are hit or it gets invalidated by closing above or below my step one. So VAL, VAH, the 15-minute opening range, I like to trade that and do the same thing. And then the initial balance, high and low. I like to take the same setups based off of those levels too. See here our pre-market low just got changed 3 minutes before market opens. So I don't know about you, but that tells me that maybe we have some downside again today. But you never know. You truly never know. And that's why I like this system. It makes you have patience. It makes you wait for confirmation. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of trading. Right? Because old me would say, man, look at this pre-market. I'm getting in a put right off the jump. And maybe that'll be true today. Maybe that'll be true and it'll absolutely just waterfall down. I'm still going to have pause. I'm still going to wait. Because the flip side of that has happened to me a lot was I think that way. I get in. I'm like, this thing's going to crater. Buy a put. And then almost like the system knows right when I buy. Right? I'm sure some of you had that feeling. It knows exactly when I bought. And my measly 10 contracts is dictating the market and jumps right back up against you just hard and you're trapped. Right? And you instantly start the day out with a loser. Your psychology's all messed up and can put you on tilt, right? You're revenge trading at that point. Just you don't want to do that. And so this system is nice. It really creates patience. And then your biggest thing becomes discipline, which is always going to be a thing in trading. When I go back and look at my journal, and I journal at the end of each day, so many times, I've said to myself, gosh, if I had just had some discipline, I wouldn't have lost as much money, or I would have made a ton more money. Then you go back and look at from a monthly standpoint, and you're like, oh my gosh, I left. Like I could have paid my house off if I just had some discipline. So that's crucial. All right, we are 10 seconds from market open. You can see here we bounced pretty hard off of that overnight low. All right, let me zoom this in now. All right, so you can see that our session volume profile has started to kick in. Right, we're getting our green, our POC, and our VAH. Then we're getting our 15-minute opening ranges and initial balance are starting to kick in with the white line. Same down here, our lows are being created. So now we just wait. Just some balancing happening here. Just looking back to yesterday to see what we did around this price. Bounced a little bit around this price yesterday. I mean, not exactly at this price, but just back and forth. This is interesting a little bit. You can see our VAL barely right here, the green line. We were below that for a second, but it's still jumping around. And again, what these levels mean, the POC is where the most trading for the day so far has happened. The most volume for the day has happened. Volume for the day has happened. And then these ranges, the VAH and VAL, are just outer bands of that. Basically think of it as a ceiling and a floor. The VAH as a ceiling, the VAL as a floor, and the POC as where buyers and sellers have agreed that price is the most fair for the day so far. Now remember, these levels move throughout the day. Let's see if we can get a close below VAL on this opening 5-minute candle. Which could put us in our, which could put me in my first trade of the day. We've got a minute left on this 5-minute candle. Okay, or maybe this will close above VAH. I really do not want to buy a call. Right, and that's the emotional side of it, just being honest. But if the system tells me to, the setup is there, then I'll do it. What I wouldn't be surprised to see happen is if we close above the VAH here, that the next 5-minute candle doesn't hold above it. We've got 15 seconds before to see if this even actually closes above VAH. Oh, and just pop back up. 5 seconds to candle close. There we go. So no step 1 completed on the first 5 minutes, which I actually like that. Trading the open can be rewarding if you get it right, but also super risky. All right, let's see if this one can close above VAH. You can see VAH keeps kind of moving up as price goes up. Dang it, I think I'm supposed to be in some trading view contest that may have already started that I forgot about. It's a paper trading contest for trading view where if you top whatever, you get X amount of months free. I totally forgot about it. Hopefully it starts today. Alright, so it definitely looks like it's started. That's secondary. I'm not going to worry too much about that. Alright, 2 minutes left on this candle. You can see here too, if we were to enter a trade because of a close above VAH, that VWAP take profit level 1 is also sitting right there, so pretty much not going to use that one, right? We'd have to look at VWAP target 2, and then we've still got our overnight high up there as well as a target. I also, I like the 25% and 50% just standard set in stone, and then I'll chase from there. What I mean by chase is I'll move my stop up. Right, once it hits 25%, I move my stop up to there, and whatever happens, happens. Then if it gets to 50%, same thing, I move my stop up to there, and just let it run. I would say 90% of the time, those levels get stopped out once I move my stop up. Or at least I give myself a puncher's chance of getting higher. All right, 30 seconds left. It looks like we may get step 1 of the setup here, which step 1 is a close above VAH, which is the red line right here. Ten seconds to go. All right, there we go. So step 1 is completed. So now I'm looking for this candle, this 5-minute candle, to hold above the VAH line, you can see it's moving on us a little bit. So I need to go and set where VAH was when we actually were, when it actually qualified for step 1. Right there. Hang on, just in it. All right, 683.78. Another thing I forgot to do was move back to regular trading hours, which I don't think really matters, but I just like it better. All right, so far you can see this next candle is so far not holding above the VAH, which would invalidate the setup. See if it can bounce back. This is a excuse me, a great example so far of, you know, if you're going to scalp, you know, you could have made some money here, but just of things looking super bullish and then working against you. But we'll see. Could still happen, right? Could still happen to me. This could jump back up and move up there, and then waterfall down. Got 2.5 minutes left. Again, this yellow line is where VAH was when this step 1 qualified. And so now this is my setup, right? Even though VAH is moving up higher, that's okay. That's actually a good sign. Just a big candle, 684.13. So about $1 in price movement. They're battling. All right, so all looks good. Minute and a half left for this candle. This candle close is also going to set our 15-minute opening range, which are these white lines. "45 seconds for this candle to hold above our initial VAH, which is the yellow line. "15. 5 seconds. All right, so that got invalidated, right? So I'm going to go ahead and delete this yellow line because it no longer is valid for us. But we got invalidated there, so we didn't get in the trade, and I'm kind of glad because it just wasn't. I'd like to see green, 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 green. Had it closed, had it been bearish, a bearish candle and still closed above the 683.78, I would have entered the trade just because my conditions were met, but I wouldn't have been super excited about it. But that's discipline, right? If you have a system, you have a setup that you like, the rules are, if your conditions are met, you make the trade, whether you like it or not. That's consistency. And if that consistency proves over time that that strategy is profitable, you take the trade. If you can get to a point where your emotions don't matter, that's where you want to be. Take the emotional out of it, right? If you were trading with someone else's money or paper trading, I think that changes things. It's easier, right? You take the trades that should be taken. Looks like so QQQ hasn't joined the party today. Oh, so our 15-minute opening range is set. So right here is our opening range high for 15 minutes. Down here is our opening range low for the opening 15 minutes. So that's another setup that I'll be looking for. Same rules apply, right? I want to close above the 15-minute opening range or below the 15-minute opening range. Then I want that next candle to open and close above it. Then I would be looking to enter a trade. I think it was last Thursday or Friday, that setup went 4 for 4. Which is crazy, right? When you think opening range breakout, usually the first one's the best one. That day it gave 4 wins on that setup. I think that was the only setup that I got that day. That's what I love about this system, is that in chop days, in trend days, it still gives setups. Whereas like my other system I use, the SPY Hunter signal engine, it's only going to give you signals and alerts if it's a trend day, it's a momentum day. The way that I have it set up, it will not give you alerts on chop days, which is great because on chop days, using that system, you'll get torn up. So it works, right? It works like it's supposed to. But man, it makes it tough when the market goes 2 weeks without any trend days. And you get no trades, right? Traders want to trade. I'm sure you guys have all heard too, right? That sometimes the best trade is no trade. That's also true. All right, so we got 20 seconds left for this candle. And it looks like it's going to give us the step 1 setup of the VAH. Closing above that. Heck, it might even give, excuse me, the opening range. Nope. Okay, so step 1's completed there. So now I want this candle. I need to mark this out before it moves. We want this candle to hold above the yellow line. Yeah, it just moved right there as I was talking. So that's why I mark it out. I mark it out where it was when step one was fulfilled. Because otherwise it moves, and you go back and try to journal and look at it, it looks like you entered a trade when you shouldn't have, or that it invalidated, and get all confused on, well, what the heck, why did I enter that trade? It's because it moved. So you've got to use the replay if you go back and recap your trades for the day using this setup. So you can actually see where the levels were when the trade happened. All right, so I'm liking how this is looking. Still got 4 minutes left on this candle, but you can see it's pushing our initial balance up higher. And again, that initial balance is not going to set in stone until 9:30 Central Time. So that's why it's moving it. And then our initial balance low is sitting right down here at our 15-minute opening range, just because that's the low of the day so far. Besides the pre-market, our overnight low, which we have marked out in white. All right, 3 minutes to go here on this candle. Still looking promising. One thing I've noticed on 5-minute candles, the last two minutes or so of each 5-minute candle, it seems that price reverses from what it's done up to that point. We'll see if that holds true here, right? Because this candle's been super bullish. Now we'll see if it starts creeping back at the close of the 5-minute candle. So halfway through, 2.5 minutes left. See if it can hold it. Looks promising. And I like this price action a lot better than the last setup we had. Because it looks a little jumpy. I want it to run away too far though before we get in. All right, so 1:40 left. Now let's see if it keeps going higher, if it pulls back. I would love it to pull back before I enter, so I get a better price. A minute left. See what I mean? Like the last, those 5-minute, like last 2 minutes just seem to do stuff like that. All right, 30 seconds left on this candle. Unless something drastic happens, it looks like it's going to hold, which means I'll get in a trade. So 684.30. So yeah, I'll be looking for a 685 call. All right, I'm in the trade. So I'm holding a 685 call. And so my My target's going to be, I mean, really all I've got up here is the overnight high as a target. So I'm going to do 25%, 50% as my targets, which would be, I got in at $80 per contract. So $100 are $120. So we'll see. I mean, so far rejecting against us. We entered right at the top. You know, I would have loved to have had that candle hold down here lower for my entry, but that's the way it is. So there we go. Sitting at 85. Come on, let's shoot up to 100. So I can move my stop, put it in place, and then not care what happens from there. I mean, you could use this initial balance high as a target as well. If you wanted to target levels, right? That'd be target 1, target 2, which, you know, it's hard to use that because it's going to keep moving because it's not set in stone yet because it's not 9:30. I'm keeping this yellow line here. That's my invalidation zone. So if this rejects and closes below there, I'll get out of the trade with the loss. Two and a half minutes to go. So now what I said last time, let's hope that since this has been bearish, let's now hope the last 2 minutes of this candle reverse back up to bullish. Kind of bouncing there off of that 15-minute opening range high. CRVAH just jumped up a little bit. Jumped up again. Almost just about where yesterday's VAH ended, which is right here. Come on. Minute and a half to go. Down 4 cents per contract. Come on, let's push up there to the overnight high. At least test it. Come on. All right, that candle's going to close. Oh my gosh. The heck was that? Definitely struggling here a little bit at this level. Oh yeah, you can see yesterday rejected it pretty hard here off of this level where we're at right now. So that's why. Doesn't mean that that's going to happen this time, but just something to consider, or something to be aware of, I guess. That would explain if it does reject hard here. I also think just, why come up here if you're not going to test the overnight high? All right, here we go. Come on. Yep, come on. There we go, overnight high. Struggling to push through there, right? Tested it. All right, so there you go. Sorry, I was managing my trade. So, came up here, hit take profit level, right? Exit the trade, or I got stopped out actually. But exited the trade. Now whatever happens, happens, right? It looks like it could continue to go further, or it looks like it wants to, but never know, right? And now we've got this rejection level from yesterday, and then this level from the overnight session that we rejected off of as our high. So I'm out of the trade. Didn't quite get my 25%, got 18% at 98. And so there you go. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I just wanted to show the morning session and the levels, right? The last levels to be set for the rest of the day are the initial balance, which we'll set here in 25 minutes. So just be aware of those. You can mark those out manually on your chart, or you can use the Lux Algo initial balance breakout signals indicator. It's free out on TradingView. And I don't think I have anything crazy about it. These are my settings. Yep, that's it. All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching, and talk to you tomorrow.